Clara Jensen stands in her small, dimly lit apartment, a cramped space she inherited but never fully claimed as her own. The faint smell of aged paper and ink hangs in the air, a reminder of the decade she has spent ignoring the pile of unopened letters her late mother left behind. Each envelope is meticulously addressed in her mother's flowing handwriting, some postmarked 10 years ago, others more recent, as if time itself had been quietly catalogued through these letters. Clara's hands tremble as she carefully sets the stack on the table, her mind wrestling with memories both tender and painful. The letters represent the life she never fully understood, the secrets her mother guarded so fiercely, and the truths Clara was never allowed to confront. She recalls her mother's final warning, a trembling whisper of caution: "Some truths can destroy you, Clara. Some letters are meant to stay hidden." The weight of these words presses down on her chest, making her pulse quicken. It is not just the contents of the letters that terrify her, but the possibility that opening them might unravel the very foundation of her reality. The quiet apartment suddenly feels suffocating, as though the walls themselves are holding their breath, waiting for her to confront what was never meant to be revealed. In this moment, the past and present collide, forcing Clara to acknowledge that the life she thought she knew may have been a carefully constructed illusion. The sudden chime of the doorbell shatters Clara's fragile concentration, sending a jolt of anxiety through her body. She hesitates before moving toward the door, each step heavy with uncertainty. Standing on the threshold is Ethan Harper, the boy she once called her best friend, the man who once held her heart in the innocent days of childhood. Time has changed him, his expression carries the weight of secrets and regrets, yet his eyes betray a familiarity that stirs both warmth and unease. In his hands, he holds a plain box labeled in bold letters, "For Clara, read only if you dare." The words are a challenge, a provocation, and an invitation all at once. The air between them is thick with unresolved tension, a mixture of nostalgia, unspoken longing, and the sting of past betrayals. Memories flood Clara's mind, laughter shared under summer skies, whispered confessions in the quiet of their shared adventures, and then the sudden rupture of distance, misunderstandings, and unspoken words that had driven them apart. The sight of Ethan now forces Clara to confront emotions she thought had been buried, emotions she cannot yet name but feels like a tight coil in her chest. His presence is both comforting and dangerous, hinting at the intricate emotional labyrinth she must navigate to uncover the truth behind the letters and her father's mysterious disappearance. As Clara turns back to the letters, her fingers brush against one that has slipped from the top of the pile, landing face down on the wooden floor. She hesitates, the shadow of her mother's warning lingering in her mind, before picking it up and breaking the seal. The message inside is cryptic yet chilling. Her father's disappearance was not an accident, and someone close to her may have deceived her for years. The words feel like a knife twisting in her heart, igniting a storm of fear, curiosity, and disbelief. Every fiber of her being urges caution, yet a deeper, unrelenting need for truth propels her forward. The apartment feels suddenly smaller, the dim light casting long shadows that seem to whisper secrets of their own. Clara's mind races, replaying fragments of conversations, long-forgotten arguments, and subtle hints that she had dismissed as coincidence or imagination. The revelation is not just about her father, it is about trust, betrayal, and the intricate web of lies that has shaped her life. In that suspended moment, the story pivots from quiet introspection to urgent, emotional tension. The reader is immediately drawn into Clara's world of mystery and intrigue, sensing the weight of her choices and the emotional stakes that hang over her. Every glance at Ethan, every envelope yet unopened, promises heartbreak, revelation, and the possibility of redemption, setting the stage for a gripping narrative that intertwines family secrets, unresolved love, and personal resilience. Clara Jensen's life has always been shaped by the shadow of loss and unanswered questions. At 25, she carries the weight of a childhood disrupted by her father's sudden and mysterious disappearance when she was just 15. That single event fractured her sense of security and forged a cautious, almost defensive personality. She excelled academically, finding solace in the structure and logic of law, ultimately graduating from law school and securing a position at a small legal aid firm. Clara's determination is fueled not by ambition alone, but by a deep, unresolved need to understand her past. Despite her professional success, she struggles with trust and vulnerability, often pushing people away before they can hurt her. The letters her mother left behind, now unopened, are both a tantalizing key to the past and a source of paralyzing anxiety, representing the truths she's been told to avoid. Her mother's death compounded this isolation, leaving Clara tethered to a life defined by unanswered questions and unspoken fears. Emotionally, she exists in a liminal space, oscillating between longing for connection and fearing betrayal. This inner tension drives her every decision, how she navigates friendships, professional relationships, and even her own self-perception. Her careful, methodical nature conceals an undercurrent of desperation, the need to reclaim a life disrupted by forces beyond her control. Clara's character is complex, defined by resilience, intellect, and a haunting vulnerability that makes her both relatable and compelling to the reader. Ethan Harper's arrival reopens wounds Clara had long attempted to bury. Once her closest childhood friend and first love, Ethan carries the weight of guilt for leaving her emotionally abandoned after her mother's death. Now 26 and working as a journalist, he is outspoken, empathetic, and attuned to the world's injustices, traits that drew Clara to him in their youth. His presence, however, is not merely comforting, it destabilizes her carefully maintained emotional equilibrium. Clara remembers the warmth of his friendship, the shared secrets, and the intimacy of being truly seen by someone who understood her. Yet, his absence during her darkest hours left a mark of resentment and mistrust, one that lingers even as memories of affection resurface. Ethan embodies both the possibility of reconciliation and the threat of renewed heartache, creating a powerful emotional tension. His arrival is perfectly timed with the discovery of the letters, acting as both catalyst and mirror to Clara's unresolved pain. The reader senses that Ethan is not just a character in the background but an active agent in the unfolding drama, capable of providing clarity or complicating matters further. His internal struggle, the guilt for past neglect versus the desire to protect and reconnect with Clara, mirrors her own conflict between trust and self-preservation. Together, they represent a delicate balance of past and present, intimacy and estrangement, making the emotional stakes in their interactions palpable. Clara's current life is further defined by her relationships outside of family. Megan Lawson, her co-worker and confidant, serves as a grounding presence, practical, witty, and fiercely protective. Megan offers both comic relief and emotional insight, highlighting Clara's vulnerabilities without judgment. Through Megan, the reader sees Clara's professional competence intertwined with her personal fragility, emphasizing the contrast between her controlled exterior and the turmoil she hides. Meanwhile, the looming mystery of her father, David Jensen, who has been missing for 10 years, continues to haunt her. While the world presumes him dead, Clara's intuition and the cryptic letters suggest otherwise, hinting at betrayal and secrets that may involve individuals she once trusted implicitly, including Ethan's family. This revelation seeds the central conflict. Clara must navigate not only her own emotional hesitations but also the complex social and familial dynamics threatening to engulf her. The potential involvement of close friends or relatives in her father's disappearance adds layers of tension, betrayal, and moral ambiguity to the story. Every interaction, glance, or conversation becomes a puzzle piece in a larger web of secrets, keeping both Clara and the reader on edge. In this setup, Clara's journey is no longer just personal, it is interwoven with questions of loyalty, trust, and the true nature of family, establishing a rich emotional and narrative foundation for the drama to unfold. Clara Jensen sits at her small apartment table, the dim glow of a desk lamp illuminating the stacks of unopened letters her late mother left behind. The air is thick with the faint scent of paper and ink, each envelope a silent testament to secrets long buried. Her hands tremble as she reaches for one particularly worn envelope, postmarked shortly before her father's disappearance. Inside, the letter is unlike the others. It is not a reflection, a warning, or an emotional confession, it is a key. Clara reads with growing disbelief that her father had maintained a hidden bank account, the letter cryptically noting that he had feared for his life and that the account contained documents and assets tied to something far larger than she could yet comprehend. Every word strikes her with an electric mix of fear and curiosity. The careful handwriting conveys urgency, as if her father knew he might never speak these truths aloud. This discovery is more than financial, it is proof that her father's disappearance was neither random nor simple. The account, shrouded in secrecy, implies that the life she believed she understood was built on a foundation of lies, omissions, and danger. Clara's pulse quickens, her mind spinning with questions. Why keep this hidden? Who was threatening him? Could someone close to her family have been involved? The letter becomes both a lifeline and a challenge, daring her to confront the dark unknown. In that moment, the past collides violently with the present, propelling Clara into a labyrinth of uncertainty, distrust, and the undeniable need for answers. Before she can fully process the letter, a knock at the door interrupts her thoughts. A well-dressed lawyer introduces himself with an air of officious authority, claiming he represents a family friend, Richard Calloway, who is contesting the account. Clara freezes, recognition and shock flooding her mind. Richard Calloway had always been a figure she trusted implicitly, a man who had been a mentor to her family and a pillar of guidance during her father's disappearance. The notion that he might be laying claim to the account, and by extension, the secrets it contains, feels like a stab of betrayal. Every instinct in Clara screams caution. She has been trained to analyze, to question, to protect what is hers, yet this challenge comes from someone she had once considered untouchable. As the lawyer presents documents, the air grows heavier with the tension of unspoken accusations and implied deception. Clara's mind races through memories of Richard's interactions with her father, the subtle ways he seemed to influence decisions, and the comforting authority he projected to the world. Could this trusted figure have used her family's tragedy for personal gain? The lawyer's presence transforms the discovery from a private, emotional revelation into an immediate, real-world conflict that demands action. Suddenly, the stakes are no longer theoretical, they are legal, public, and potentially devastating, forcing Clara to confront not only the mysteries of her father's disappearance but the possibility that betrayal lurks closer than she ever imagined. Clara's mind becomes a battlefield of conflicting emotions. Part of her longs to retreat, to close the letters and preserve the fragile stability she has fought to maintain. Yet the letter, Richard Calloway's challenge, and the lingering questions about her father converge into an undeniable truth. She cannot ignore this any longer. The need for answers outweighs her fear of uncovering painful realities. With a heavy heart, she makes the decision to investigate both the bank account and her father's disappearance, understanding that doing so will drag her into a dangerous world of secrets, lies, and potentially treacherous allies. Realizing the magnitude of the journey ahead, she reluctantly turns to Ethan Harper, whose return had initially stirred both nostalgia and resentment. She knows his investigative skills, his journalistic instincts, and their shared history could prove invaluable, even if involving him risks reopening old wounds. As they tentatively agree to join forces, the stage is set for a narrative driven by tension, betrayal, and relentless pursuit of truth. Clara's choice transforms the story from quiet intrigue into an active quest, where every action carries weight and every revelation has consequences. The inciting incident has not only disrupted her life, it has reshaped it entirely, propelling her forward into a world where the lines between trust, family, and morality are dangerously blurred. Clara and Ethan immerse themselves in the tangled web of letters and documents left by Clara's father, the apartment transformed into a war room of secrets. Each envelope, once a mere artifact of memory, now holds cryptic messages, financial ledgers, and fragments of correspondence that hint at hidden dealings and clandestine relationships. They spend hours decoding cryptic phrases, cross-referencing names, dates, and transactions, their collective energy a mix of urgency and obsession. The more they uncover, the more the image of Clara's father as a quiet, absent figure dissolves into a man navigating complex, dangerous circles, friends, business associates, and family members whose motives are now suspect. Clara feels a mix of fascination and dread. Every revelation brings her closer to understanding the man she loved yet barely knew. Ethan's meticulous approach complements Clara's intuitive leaps, yet each discovery also intensifies the weight of the emotional stakes. They uncover coded messages within mundane letters, lines of text that initially seemed innocuous but, when pieced together, suggest betrayal and manipulation at the highest personal levels. The investigation begins to blur the line between past and present, as they realize that the dangers her father faced may not have disappeared and that uncovering these truths could expose them both to risks still alive today. The apartment, once a quiet refuge, becomes a crucible where suspicion, fear, and determination merge, driving the narrative into deeper emotional and psychological territory. As the investigation progresses, the tension escalates beyond the documents themselves. Coded messages and inconsistencies in prior interactions point toward Richard Calloway, the family friend Clara had once trusted implicitly, yet further scrutiny reveals multiple potential culprits, including people Clara never imagined could betray her father. The shadow of doubt begins to creep into every corner of her life, infecting interactions, memories, and assumptions. Clara becomes hyper-aware of subtle nuances, the tone of a phone call, the omission of a name, a glance that doesn't match the words spoken. Amidst this mounting suspicion, friction between Clara and Ethan intensifies. Long-suppressed emotions, love, resentment, and unresolved grief intersect with practical disagreements on how to proceed. Ethan questions Clara's assumptions, while she challenges his recollections, each miscommunication magnified by their shared history. Arguments become inevitable, their voices sometimes rising over the scattered letters and documents, tension crackling in the air as much as the questions surrounding her father. Both are forced to confront their emotional baggage, the moments when Ethan abandoned Clara, her mother's warnings, and the vulnerabilities they had long tried to protect. Every argument carries more than mere frustration, it is an exploration of trust, loyalty, and unspoken desires. The investigation, rather than uniting them, exposes raw edges in their relationship, forcing them to grapple with the intertwining of personal and investigative stakes. The tipping point arrives when Clara discovers a letter that suggests Ethan may have known more than he admitted about her father's circumstances. The accusation is subtle, buried within cryptic phrasing, but it strikes like a dagger, forcing Clara to confront not only her father's secrets but the fragility of trust in her relationships. Her mind races with questions. Did Ethan withhold crucial information to protect her, or was there a deeper betrayal? The possibility fractures her perception of loyalty, love, and family, leaving her suspended between doubt and desire. The emotional stakes of the investigation suddenly overshadow the factual pursuit of truth. Clara feels a profound sense of isolation. Even the one person she thought could help her navigate this labyrinth now carries the potential for deception. Ethan, in turn, is caught between the instinct to protect Clara and the painful necessity of revealing what he knows, his own guilt layered atop the mounting tension. Their arguments evolve into late-night confrontations, silent treatments, and glances laden with unspoken questions. Every interaction becomes a delicate balance between uncovering facts and preserving fragile emotional bonds. In this phase, the story's suspense is amplified not only by external mysteries, letters, accounts, and potential betrayals, but by the internal conflict between two people whose shared history is both a lifeline and a source of danger. The narrative stakes rise sharply. The truth of her father's disappearance now threatens to fracture every relationship Clara holds dear, forcing choices that could redefine love, trust, and loyalty forever. Clara's hands tremble as she steps into the sleek, modern expanse of Richard Calloway's luxurious home, the opulence a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling inside her. Every detail, from the polished marble floors to the panoramic windows overlooking the city, feels like a silent reminder of power and privilege, a world her father once navigated but never fully revealed. Richard greets her with the calm, measured composure of a man accustomed to control, his eyes reflecting both recognition and calculated detachment. Clara wastes no time, presenting the evidence she and Ethan have painstakingly gathered, letters, accounts, and coded messages pointing to betrayal. Richard responds with partial admissions, minor cover-ups, concealed information, and misguided advice, but denies any involvement in her father's disappearance. He maintains a poised exterior, yet a flicker of hesitation betrays the weight of secrets he cannot or will not reveal. Then comes the bombshell. Richard hints that the true betrayer lies closer to Clara than she could have imagined. The words hit like lightning, leaving Clara reeling. She had trusted certain faces, believed in the integrity of relationships she considered unshakable, and now every foundation feels unsteady. The confrontation forces Clara to confront a harsh truth. Uncovering her father's past is not a linear journey. Every answer begets new questions, each revelation opening a door to deeper, more personal betrayals. The narrative pivots from investigation to reckoning, raising the stakes emotionally, morally, and relationally. Clara's journey has become one of not just discovery, but confrontation with the very fabric of trust she once relied upon. The emotional storm escalates when Clara uncovers a second layer of deception, one her mother had deliberately concealed. Hidden within the deepest compartments of her mother's personal effects are letters she had forbidden Clara from reading, fearing the consequences of her daughter's impulsive pursuit of justice. The contents are devastating, detailed correspondences that implicate a person Clara never suspected, Megan's father, in acts of betrayal spanning decades. The revelation shatters the constructs of trust Clara had built around her closest relationships. Megan, who had been her confidant and emotional anchor throughout the investigation, is now entwined in the web of secrets by blood ties she cannot escape. Clara reads the letters with growing horror, recognizing patterns, motives, and manipulations that her mother had anticipated but felt Clara was unprepared to face. The letters reveal a meticulous orchestration of events designed to protect certain truths while manipulating others, leaving Clara to grapple with moral ambiguity. The lines between right and wrong, loyalty and complicity, are no longer clear. In the process, Clara realizes that uncovering the truth demands the ultimate sacrifice, the innocence of believing that those she loved were wholly trustworthy. Her mother's cautionary instincts, once frustratingly opaque, now illuminate the dangers of unbridled pursuit, forcing Clara to reconcile grief, betrayal, and the shattering of her naive understanding of family and friendship. The revelations erupt into a volatile confrontation among Clara, Ethan, and Megan, each struggling with shock, guilt, and anger. Accusations fly with raw intensity, voices rising and trembling as secrets spill into the open. Ethan grapples with guilt over past omissions, Megan with loyalty to her father, and Clara with the simultaneous pain of betrayal and the newfound clarity of truth. The emotional stakes are at their peak, friendships fracture under the weight of revelations, old love collides with anger and resentment, and trust feels irreparably damaged. Every glance and word is laden with history, tension, and the unspoken question, who can ever truly be trusted again? Clara realizes that the investigation, though initially a pursuit of answers, has exacted a toll far greater than anticipated. The cost of uncovering the truth is measured not only in secrets revealed but in innocence lost and relationships forever altered. The climax fuses emotional catharsis with narrative resolution, highlighting the consequences of curiosity, loyalty, and familial bonds. As the dust settles, Clara stands at the center of a fractured world, aware that her journey has changed not just her understanding of the past, but her very capacity for trust, love. Ethan quietly enters the room, observing Clara as she completes her ritual of closure. He does not speak immediately, understanding that this is her moment of reflection and empowerment. Sitting beside her, he offers silent support, a hand gently brushing hers, a presence that reassures without intrusion. Their eyes meet, and they exchange a small, knowing smile, a quiet acknowledgement of the journey they have shared, the wounds that have healed, and the love that has endured despite trials. Clara whispers softly, almost to herself, "We write our own story now," signaling both an emotional and narrative rebirth. The words are neither triumphant nor boastful, they are deliberate, grounded in the wisdom earned through struggle, loss, and revelation. Rising, she moves to the window, gazing out at the sprawling city skyline bathed in twilight. The lights of the city mirror the sparks of hope and potential within her, each building and street a symbol of the possibilities now open to her. In that moment, Clara experiences liberation, empowerment, and peace, knowing she has reclaimed control over her life, her emotions, and her decisions. The final image lingers, a young woman transformed, reflective yet forward-looking, anchored in love, strengthened by truth, and ready to navigate the world on her own terms, a portrait of emotional closure and enduring resilience.